Welcome to 10 must-have tools that you must have for live streaming and webinars. My name is Dante St James. I'll be taking you through this look at how to make your presentations a little bit better. We're doing one right now, a webinar in fact, and this is all the tools that I use for the various ones I do every week. And boy, do I do a lot of these every single week. So let's get this started and underway and share that screen. A quote first from Blake Lively, the actress from Gossip Girl and various other movies as well. The most beautiful thing you can wear is confidence. And I want you to remember that as you go into doing your live streams, as you go into doing webinars and all those sorts of things, that confidence is by far the number one thing that people will notice. It's the thing that's going to make you look professional. It's the thing that's going to make you look like you know what you're doing. It's the thing that's going to make your webinars that much more compelling and for people to want to watch them. So wear your confidence on the outside. And if you don't feel that confident, it's okay, because you can actually do this. It's not like this is rocket science. It's just a matter of getting on there and talking about what you need to talk about. There was a time when I was terrified of video myself. And then now here I am every day doing live webinars and live audiences and managing chat channels and all that sort of thing. So what we're going to cover today in this very quick 1 hour webinar is the role of webinars in small business. We'll look at what the role of live streaming is also in live business, is small business, and they're just slightly different to each other. And we'll look at 10 tools that help you to do those things well. And these are the tools that I actually use myself to do webinars like this one, or it could be for the live streams that I do pretty much every morning and every evening. So you'll be taking a bit of a sneak peek inside my life to see how I make these things work. First up, this is presented to you by Business Station and the Australian Small Business Advisory Services Digital Solutions Program. It's an initiative of the Australian government delivered in Western Australia by Business Station, Regional Development Australia Brisbane for Queensland, and Treaty Business Consulting in the Northern Territory. You can watch this later on through YouTube. We record all these for you, so you can pick it up again through either my own channel, my name Dante St James. You can look for that. Got probably about 150 videos on there now. Business Station as well through their own channel, with they've got probably about 400 of the things. They've got so many different presenters and advisors that happen with these every single day of the week. And a bit about me before we go on. My name's Dante St James. I know it's a stupid name to have, but it's memorable. You can say that about it. Clickstarter is my business, as in DanteStJames.com, where I take a lot of different training and a lot of individualized work with clients as well, not just through the ASBAS program. My education through various places, but most recently would be the University of New South Wales, Sydney, where I studied marketing and business information systems as a bachelor and a master of information systems. Then moved on to do yearly studies from after I finished that right up until 2 years ago with the Chartered Institute of Marketing in the UK. Didn't go there, had to do it remotely, but it was great courses if you ever get a chance to do them. They're not cheap, but they're really, really good. They'll certainly sharpen your marketing credentials, and through a whole bunch of micro credentials that I do through TAFE New South Wales. The New South Wales connection is nothing except that they're the courses that I really liked and wanted to do remotely. I don't live there. I actually live in Darwin, got my territory flag back there. So my base is in Darwin, but I fly all around the country all the time. I'm going to Perth in the next couple of weeks, and then Adelaide in September as well. And I'll be spending a lot of time in Southeast Queensland over the next 3 months as well. I work with Facebook's Blueprint Certified Lead Trainer Program. I'm a lead trainer both for Australia and New Zealand and through the global program as well, which is certainly a fun experience to be able to work with people all over the world and help them to get the most out of social media systems. Also a digital marketing associate, media planning professional. I've worked with Google's Digital Springboard program, as well as a bunch of different government things. Enough about me already. Let's move on. So a little bit more about me, but every single week, what I do is 5 webinars, just like this one. I do 2 online workshops, which are around about 2 hours long each. And then there's another 7 live streams at least that I do every week. So what I generally do is I get up and do a very quick live stream in the morning through Facebook or through YouTube. And then I'll do other ones through Instagram later on, because there's very different audiences around those. And a lot of people just get really freaked out by that and say, is this what it takes to do what you do? And I'm like, well, not really. That's what I've chosen to do. My day is actually mostly building websites, answering emails, doing one-to-one consultations, managing my team, all that sort of thing. But these things like webinars, workshops, and live streams, once you've got your system in place, they're actually not that difficult, especially live streams. I went to the point with live streams that I went and bought myself a Facebook portal, which is an interesting device. There's a few of them. There's like a little one that looks like a tablet that just sits on a desk somewhere, and then you got a large one I've got actually right in front of me here, which is quite a large, high set thing that's got a swivelable screen, and I use that to chat with my mum at night. Quite often we're cooking dinner at the same time, so we go in the kitchen, cook dinner, and we're talking on the portal between each other in the kitchen. Or what I'll do is use that as when I'm making my breakfast, I'm talking to followers and doing that kind of thing. So as I'm making breakfast, I'm also talking about digital marketing and those kind of things. So a lot more of those to come from next week, but it certainly made the job easier, having the right device that can just connect straight up to Facebook Live without me having to set up a computer, put a phone up. It's this thing's already standing up there, and I can walk around the kitchen and the little camera will follow me around. So it's tools and it's devices that have very much made it possible for me to do so many of these things every single week. Otherwise, you look at those numbers and you go, that just sounds ridiculously overwhelming. And it can be when you're first getting started. So what we'll look at first is what the role of webinars in small businesses just like mine and just like yours would happen to be. And by the way, a prompt too, if you're live on this Zoom call right now, and there's a fair few of you who can see in the participant list, just pop in any questions you got to the chat window or to the Q&A. I'll be able to answer those along the way. If you've got some particular things you want to ask about the specific tools I'm going to be using or some of the ideas, please fire away. If you're watching this on YouTube after the live event, please just pop those questions down in the comment section below. And while you're there, just hit the subscribe button and the little bell notifications. That way you'll know when all my new stuff comes out. It just allows you to see my stuff and the Business Station stuff. So you'll then be notified when all this good new stuff is starting to come out. And we're doing these things every single day of the week. So what exactly is a webinar anyway? It's a very weird name that seems to have become huge in the last 2 years during COVID especially. Well, a webinar is pretty much just the digital equivalent of what we used to call a seminar. So a seminar is just a meeting where information is shared and discussed on a particular topic. You can go to a seminar which is information about a particular vintage of wine. You can go to a seminar that's all about how to tell the different varieties of coffee and what their various qualities are. You can go to a seminar based on anything you like. It can cover any topic from any kind of workplace, any kind of study or student-based stuff. Seminars are all over the place. But I guess in 2020, when the world seemed to shift slightly, we moved a lot of that stuff to webinars, just like this one, where it's sort of semi-interactive. You can pop questions in there and all that. And I can actually bring you to the stage and you can talk and all that sort of thing, so that you can do like interactivity that comes in a live webinar. But we've got the social distancing thing going on, and it also lets me be able to not be limited to the fact that I live in a remote location. Because I don't just live here because I have work here. Most of my work is actually interstate. I live here too because I've got a great lifestyle. It's cheaper to live here than Sydney and Melbourne and Adelaide and Perth and Brisbane, and it's also summer all year round. Sometimes it's a little bit too much summer, but I don't like the cold. So for me to live in the tropics, it makes sense. I can fly to wherever I need to be if I need to be there. But with webinars, I can be anywhere I need to be. So my entire audience can be right across Australia, New Zealand, Indonesia, within sort of time zones, I suppose, that allow us to connect and to be able to do information sessions like these with people who I never normally would come across. Now, what kind of businesses really benefit probably the best from this kind of approach? I'd say that at the top of the list will probably be consultants and coaches, people like me who a lot of what we do is sharing of information. It's teaching, it's training, it's mentoring, all that kind of stuff. Now, this is stuff that's made for us because we can talk. We could talk the hinges off a door. But if you're able to talk and you're not that unconfident, I guess, when it comes to things like cameras being on you and microphones being on you and ring lights being in front of you and getting all the sound right around the room, then it's fine. You'll actually be able to pull that stuff off really quickly. Makers and creators, whether that's making food or making earrings, those kind of things translate really well from things like webinars. Academics, people who have very detailed information to share. Food and beverage, where you're making food, making drinks, that kind of thing can benefit really well from a webinar. As can education and training. Obviously, there's I don't know, there's probably more than one mum on here who's had to have kids at home from school during lockdowns, and you would know all about how the delivery of things through Microsoft Teams and Zoom with schools has been, and how it's been quite difficult, and how it's just a weird way of doing a classroom. And then, of course, artists and entertainers also benefit from this kind of thing. So let's take a little bit of a closer look at some of those different industries and niches. So consultants and coaches do well with how-to content, how to create a post on Facebook, how to make a TikTok post, all that sort of stuff. That's very much how to write a business plan, little things like exactly what we're doing here, where I'm doing something that's all about the 10 various tools that make webinars and live streams work a lot better for you as a small business. So the how-to content is at the core of so many of the reasons why someone would run a webinar. It could also be updated information. Quite often I'm running updated information on changes to things like Facebook's business tools, or Facebook's algorithm, or YouTube's algorithm, or the SEO changes that are happening through Google. I do a lot of reading. I'm constantly studying. I'm constantly doing course after course and exam after exam. So then I've got that information to come about and bring to you in a format that's going to work for you as a small business. Because sometimes that stuff is so egghead that there's no way that anyone's ever going to understand what they're talking about in that white paper or in that release, or what they call the change log when it comes to Google. And then there's also demonstrations. I can do a demonstration of, say, some of the work I do as a web designer. I can show you on screen, this is how I do this thing with Divi and with WordPress and with Joomla and with Wix and Squarespace and whatever the tool happens to be. So webinars are definitely the realm of consultants and coaches, but it's also the realm of makers and creators. And again, that how-to content, how to make a clasp that'll hold a stone in a ring or in an earring or something like that, how to braid knots, and how to use fabric, and how to use make your very first piece of pottery, how to use a pottery wheel, how to throw clay on a wheel. All those kind of how-to content, they suit someone who works in that area. It could be something like new techniques. So someone's come up with a new technique for how to peel a potato, or it could be a new technique of how to paint something or how to draw something. These kind of techniques are very well shared over things like webinars because of two reasons. It's all to do with light and sound. You can see everything on screen, and you're able to hear the presenter presenting as well. So where you've got the multi-sensory environment, just like television, people can much more easily connect with you, and you can much more easily connect with them as well, despite the fact that the chances are that both of you are not in, well, actually not both, there's about 16 of you, but 16 of you are not in Darwin with me right now, although I can recognize one name in there from Kathy. I know you're definitely in Darwin, but most of you are in other places. So it's a little bit harder for us to feel connected, or to feel like we're the same country or the same kind of things we're going through. So that empathy is hard to create. But when you have light and sound, or you've got visuals and you've got audio, and they're quite clear, then it's much easier for people to feel a little bit more connected with you. And then, of course, performances by creators. So people who are doing, here's how you do this crazy little clap thing, and then all the food appears chopped up in front of you, those kind of things, how to do that on things like TikTok and Instagram Reels. That kind of thing makes for really good webinars as well. So you're showing people on screen how to do the very thing that you do really well. And that's what a webinar is all about. It's about presenting the stuff that you're an expert on, which brings us to academics. No greater experts in the world than people who've studied it all their lives, right? So academics can bring new ideas. They can bring research presentations. theses, research papers, all that sort of stuff coming to the fore in a webinar. I've actually a guy who I used to work with, who's now quite an academic in Queensland, is doing a thing on corporate governance. And it's not something that I ever thought I'd need to look at, but I've recently become, you know, an executive committee member of a committee that I'm on. So I need to learn more about governance and how that works. So I figured, well, it's a free webinar from someone who's an expert in corporate governance. Why not do that? Yeah, it makes sense. And that's what you see when you see these different webinars come up from myself and all the other presenters with ASBAS Digital Solutions, that you see that there's an expert in this field who's sharing their time. So why wouldn't you become part of that? In the food and beverage field, product demonstrations, reviews of different ingredients and how to make certain foods and drinks are very much key to it. In fact, when so many restaurants closed in 2020 and again in 2021, some of the restaurants that did really well are those who took, I guess, the making experience and the cooking experience and the beverage making experience and the barista experience and the cocktail experience and took it online and didn't just, you know, show here's how I make it. They showed here's how you can make it. And when they made that a much more interactive kind of service, it allowed people to go, huh, maybe I can have that cocktail experience that I'm missing out on having in person. I can have that online now. So I can have it online. I can enjoy a cocktail with my friends, and cocktail hour and wine time became quite a huge thing on Zoom calls within groups of friends who would get together on a Friday night. They couldn't go out. So they'd have Friday evening drinks on Zoom together and they'd make cocktails together. And it was an amazing experience for people. It brought people together in a time when I guess people were so much apart, and so much of Australia is still in that. I think it's like the whole East Coast right now is in some kind of lockdown. Brisbane's now coming out, but you know, the whole of New South Wales is a mess. Victoria's still in lockdown. The ACT's in lockdown. It's a big mess at the moment. Education and training is pretty obvious when it comes to this. Course introductions, you can go and do, rather than just going and reading a transcript of what a course may be that you're thinking of doing at university. Imagine going to a webinar and actually just having someone introduce it where you can ask questions. That's what's great about webinars. You can ask the questions and they get answered live for you. Micro courses can be delivered. That's essentially what I kind of do. Little micro courses in how to use Facebook groups, how to use WordPress, how to update a WordPress site, how to use Wix to build a new website, how to use this particular tool to do this particular thing. Little micro courses that give you enough information to be able to do it without you having to go and do a 6-month course in something. It's just crazy. There's just too much to look at there. And then there's the training series. So I'm doing a training series at the moment through ASBAS Digital Solutions on what I call the 8-hour digital marketing degree. We've done 2 parts of it so far. So it's 4 2-hour sessions. First one was all about the very basics of marketing and understanding the concepts around it. The second one was, and it was yesterday, was really hugely attended too. Really, really well done. Like a great time we had, and people in it were just such great participants. Was all about getting known and forming your brand messages. Next week, it's all about getting found on Google. And the final week is all about social media and its role in being able to keep you known to your customers and to the broader community in general. So series like that really lend themselves well to webinars just like these. Then there's Artisan Entertainers. The obvious one is live performances, live demonstrations, interactive question and answer sessions. Imagine if you could get on a Q&A session with Celine Dion and ask her anything you like and she would answer it live. It'd be awesome. And a lot of celebrities did do that. There wasn't a lot of celebrity work and a lot of movies or concerts or things going on last year. So I guess we had the opportunity to connect with a lot of celebrities that we normally wouldn't have. They made themselves available for a lot of these Q&A sessions, which was fun. So when it comes to live streaming, what then is the role for that? So how can you tie in live streaming for your business? Well, I'd say that a live stream is kind of like a webinar. It can be like a webinar or not. But a live stream is usually held on some kind of social media platform. And that's usually because there's quite a substantial audience pool available in social media platforms. I could hold a webinar on Zoom, but Zoom's not a social platform. I have to still promote that Zoom call off to people elsewhere in order for them to come and use my Zoom link to learn whatever they're looking to learn. But in the case of a live stream, you're right there on the platform, whether it's, Facebook or YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Twitch, any of those platforms all have live streaming components. Now, not many people can get onto LinkedIn live streaming at the moment because it's a very, very new product and it's being tested out by certain influencers only at the moment. But Facebook is pretty much everyone can go live on that. YouTube, if you've got an account, you can go live on that. Instagram, much the same. You can go live on Instagram to all your followers. And Twitter is much the same. Everyone can go live on that. Twitch is it's streaming largely for people who are live streaming the gameplay on video games. So that's a very popular platform for doing that, as is YouTube for that. So these different platforms do allow you to do it. And the good thing is that your audience is likely already there. You're not having to send out an email to invite people along. You just schedule your live event on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, and it sends out a notification to those people who are either following you or subscribing to you and lets them know that this event's going to happen at this particular time and date. And when you then go live, the time and the date comes, then of course you've got the option to then be able to go, okay, here's a message that goes out to all my followers and subscribers to let them know I am going live right now. A webinar does tend to be a lot more planned. So for instance, I've got to do all these slides and all this kind of thing to make a webinar feel like it's more professional, more polished, a lot more planned. I have to form a curriculum for every webinar I do. Otherwise, the message may not come across that well. If I've got a webinar that just seems really rushed and unplanned, if I turn up to, like, for instance, let's say a panel discussion on Facebook, and there's 4 of us on there, and 3 people are just sort of talking off the top of their heads, but the 4th person comes with slides and presentations and can back all their statements with really good, solid research, and they'll come across as the expert in the room, right? So I always want to do that. I want to be the expert in the room. I want people to know that I'm not just talking out of hot air. I'm actually, have researched all this intensely. I work in this stuff every day, so therefore I can be trusted to do that. So a webinar is very much a trust thing. You're trusted to be well experienced enough or well studied enough in this particular topic to be talking about it for a good hour or so. Webinars can be shorter than that. It can be 20 minutes, 30 minutes, they can be 2 hours long. But we find that, excuse me, I don't know where that came from. It's very hot on this side of the room this time of the morning because the sun's just beating right down on the windows, and it's a very warm day in Darwin today. A live stream, though, is far less planned. A live stream is a bit more, of the moment. It's going to be something which you're going to go, well, I'm just going to hop on and just start talking. Now, of course, a live stream will be much better received and much better able to be communicated with the ideas that you're sharing if you've at least got a plan coming in. And I've always thought that the plan going into a live stream is know what the topic is you're talking about, know how you're going to enter in, know what your maybe 3 main points are, even if you jot them down on a piece of paper on the bench or on your desk, and then know how you're going to get out. That's just as important, because knowing when to end a live stream is every little bit as important as knowing when to start a live stream. If you don't know how to end a story, it's like Stephen King. He's written how many books? If he didn't know how to end his stories, they'd be weird. Well, they're weird stories anyway, but any kind of author needs to know not just how to get into a character, not how just to explain all the great stuff, but they also need to be able to get out of the story in the end. And so you need to do that with a live stream as well. So I guess a tool for you to go into live streaming is just write down 5 things that are going to prompt you. The first thing is, how am I going to start this? What is the discussion I'm going to use to start this live call? The second thing is point number 1 that you want to share. So if no one's interacting with you, you can at least go to point number 1, then to point number 2, then to point number 3, and you're able to then cover all that off. And then finally, let them know how you're going to get out. Let yourself know how you're going to end that webinar. If the webinar has a particular screen at the end, or if the live stream has something you say at the end, it could be like a wrap up, or it could be a summary of what you've already discussed, or it could be an offer that you have to people to say at the end, hey, be able to buy this right now on my website at mydomain.com.au, and you can see what the different varieties are, and I hope to see you soon. So that sort of ending is really important because that makes you look just as professional as the hair and makeup that you're going to go into it, the background, the clothing, all that sort of thing you're going to use with that. All that's just as important to get out as it is to look good. So what kind of businesses are we then looking at who can benefit particularly well from live streams? And you think, well, is my business really a live stream business? Is my business really something that can benefit from me, my talking head, just talking to people all the time? Coaches and consultants generally good at this. I have worked with a coach before. Her name's Polly, and Polly is that's her actual name, Polly. It's not just Polly put the kettle on or Polly want a cracker. It's she was all about mindset development and changing your mindset so you're more confident to be able to engage with the world and get the things you want. So she's worked with tons of women and really helped them to, I guess, step into the fullness of themselves. I'm very impressed with the work she does, and I truly believe that she's the real deal. But she does a live stream every morning at 7:30 a.m. on the dot, 7:30 Australian Central Time. So it's like 8 a.m. Oh, it could be like as late as 9 a.m. on the East Coast, but that's okay. It's still at the start of the day, right? And it's a motivating word, or sharing some wisdom that she's come across, or a book that she's reading that she wants to share what she's learned with people who are following. She doesn't charge anyone for that live stream, but she finds that it's a valuable way of showing and maintaining a relationship with the people who do follow her. Whether they are clients of hers or not, they are still following her. So it's always good for her to be able to maintain that relationship, maintain that connection, and consistently deliver something that's of some interest to some people who are following her. So a coach or a consultant, we're always talking. We could talk about the examples of people that we work with. There's endless stuff you can pull about, endless examples you can use of all that sort of thing. Therese just asked if LinkedIn has a live stream option. It does, but it's only by invite. LinkedIn will actually invite you to take that on. So it's only certain influencers and certain big people that have been allowed to do that. It's not offered to everyone yet, and it's been going for a good year and a half. I'm really waiting for it to be a much more widespread thing, but I think they just know there's going to be a lot of self-declared experts that are just going to be talking heads on the platform, and they don't want it to turn into some of the mess that I guess that marketers have turned Facebook Live into. But it'd be great if it does, because I know that that's where my greatest audience is, on LinkedIn. I'd love to be able to do live videos with them. Performers can benefit from live streams. You can get on there with your guitar and start strumming and singing, that kind of thing. Teachers obviously can use live streams by reconnecting with their students and showing how to do those things. Retailers can demonstrate products. I can bring in my Yeti mug and show you that it's got a removable top, and it's like nice and keeps everything cold, and my iced coffee that I made 2 hours ago is still icy cold, which is great. There's not much of it left now, but it's like 2 hours. I can do an actual live demonstration of a product. It could be earrings. It could be anything, scented candles, right down to, here's hand sanitizer, and I can use this hand sanitizer in this certain way. This is how easy it is to use. How to put on a mask. I've got my mask here with me that I can put on, and you can show people how to do things. That's always a really, really powerful thing for retailers. Therese just asked, what alternative would you suggest for professional audiences? You can build your professional audience on things like YouTube and Facebook as well. Or what you do is you build your audience on LinkedIn, and then you tie in, say, live YouTube streams for them. If you don't feel like Facebook's really the place to reach them by scheduling in events on LinkedIn, and then you have what is called a broadcast link that you can put into it. So in the event, you can put in the broadcast link, and then the people can just go, it doesn't matter what platform it's on, as long as there's a link to the broadcast, they'll be able to go and see that with you. YouTube, Facebook, wherever. I would probably stick more to Facebook, because I think their live streaming tools are much better. Bear in mind though, that most people who are on LinkedIn are doing so at work. So the whole vertical format of a mobile phone may not work quite as good for you with professionals. So you may need to be on something like a desktop, where you can use let's say Facebook Live through Creator Studio, which we'll look at very, very shortly, as a tool to be able to launch the live stream for them in a format that they can watch on a monitor, or on a device that's got like quite a large screen about it, so they can be more embedded into that process. Or at least in my case, I've got multiple screens here, so over on that screen I could have a live webinar going on where I'm actually just sort of in the background, just sort of listening to it, watching it, but not fully embedded while I'm doing my work on this screen, for instance. So that kind of thing could be really good for getting people across from LinkedIn. LinkedIn's definitely my biggest audience too. I love the idea that you can connect with so many people who are business owners, and that's my primary audience. So some great tools for webinars and live streaming. We're going to shoot through these ones in not too much time. Hopefully we'll finish with a bit of an early mark. But the great tools that I use to be able to pull all this off, the first thing is Creator Studio from Facebook. Facebook.com Creator Studio, and that takes you into a thing called Live Producer for your live videos and your live streams. So not a great webinar platform, although you can do it. I could do this same webinar on Zoom through Facebook if I wanted to do it. I could even use Zoom to then go and rebroadcast to Facebook and YouTube at the same time, and I'll cover a bit of that later. But Creator Studio is a place that allows you to build and schedule posts for Facebook and Instagram, but it also allows you to build your live Facebook videos as well. So you can put in things like the words in the post, a thumbnail, you can put a summary of what's going to be on there, you can schedule that live video ahead so it then prompts you to go live at the right time you're supposed to go live. It ties in things like Facebook events, so you can promote it through there as well. It gives you that all-important broadcast link, so it allows people, say over on LinkedIn, to be able to click that broadcast link and come over and watch you on the Facebook platform as well. The unfortunate part of the Facebook is that you do need to have a Facebook account to be able to view Facebook live content. But yeah, what is it, 76 or 77% of people in Australia have a Facebook account of some description. So you're not going to miss a lot of people, particularly people who are motivated to learn and they're going to be likely to watch live video. They're probably going to be on Facebook, because that's where live video happens probably more than anywhere else on any other platform right now. So I think using your live producer through Creator Studio is a really good step-by-step, click this, click this, click this, click this. It prompts you along the way for all the things you want to do and allows you to then go out to Facebook audience that's following you through your business page. Or you can do it through, not so much through groups, but you can broadcast to groups, but you broadcast as yourself in a group, not as a business. That's one little trick. But you can broadcast to your page followers, and they'll get that little notification coming up in the right-hand corner of their screen to let them know that you're going live. Or it could even come up, if there's someone who follows you enough, it'll come up on the notifications on their mobile as well. So that's Creator Studio from Facebook. Next up is what we call YouTube Studio. So this is the YouTube version of this, and it's not used anywhere near as much by businesses. It's more so used by live streamers who are trying to get themselves to share with a very large audience they already have little interactive bits between their very highly produced videos. Let's just say that it's one of my favorite people I follow is Mr. Who's the Boss. So Mr. Who's the Boss is a Indian British man who has a voice that's like silk. It's like butter. It's so smooth, and he's so, just dashingly handsome and all those things. And he does things like technology reviews. He reviews mobile phones primarily and the use of mobile phones. And he does a video every day, sometimes two, and they are highly polished and highly produced and just beautiful pieces of video production. But he also does live stream videos where he goes, oh my God, I just got in this thing. You've got to look at it now. This is going to be amazing. Opens the unboxing sort of stuff. So he supplements it with that. YouTube Studio works if you've got a Google account, because that's who owns YouTube, and your YouTube Google account will then allow you to get into YouTube Studio, which is studio.youtube.com. In there, you can go through to giving the video a title. You can give it a description, give it a category, in much the same way of any kind of video that you'd load up. All the same thing applies, and then you can customize how it's going to look to a degree and who can then view that. So if your content is a little bit sensitive to have kids viewing it, you can say it's not for kids. Or you can, if it's just for kids, then you can highlight that it is for kids. So the visibility can be for just subscribers. It can be for the general public and can be completely live to everybody out there. Now, the YouTube live platform is large, but not quite as large as Facebook Lives. And the only reason being that YouTube video tends to be something you take time out to do. You'll watch it on a screen, on another laptop screen, on a desktop screen, less so than on a mobile phone. Whereas live for Facebook is largely a mobile phone experience that has a desktop experience attached to it. Whereas YouTube Studio is a desktop experience that has a mobile phone experience sort of bolted onto it. So YouTube Studio is where you go to do this. That's tool number 2. So Facebook Live through Creator Studio, and then YouTube Studio through YouTube as a second platform. Then I couldn't really ignore Instagram Live. Instagram Live is a 100% mobile experience. It's expected that Instagram Live will happen on a vertical screen. And it's really been the home of influencers, beauty and makeup tutorials, fashion, people who are doing very, very visual things that they can share with. Whereas Facebook Live seems to be all about the talking heads and the people sharing their opinions. Instagram Live is very much about creators and people who are creating very compelling content. They might be singers, they might be dancers, gymnasts, beauty influencers, bloggers who have particular things they do, scientists who are doing experiments, right down to hairdressers showing you haircutting techniques live from in their salons. It's really that place that people go to when they want to be wowed with the ability of what someone's able to actually do. YouTube is a little bit more entertain me. Instagram's a little bit more like inspire me. So think of it that way. If you've got something you can bring to Instagram Live that's inspiring, that may be the place for you. Now you can do it through the Instagram app. You just simply go to start it where you get the plus sign where you'll add a new post or a new story. You can also then choose to start a reel or a IGTV post, or you can go live straight away on the platform. So all that sort of stuff then goes straight out to your listener, to your followers, lets them know that you're going live, and then bang, you're off into a live video as well. Now, Instagram Live is not as big in Australia as I thought it might be. We seem to be very big on Facebook Live, but not so big on Instagram Live. So Instagram Live is a market, I guess, where if you've got a good following, then there's a very good chance that you can have a great audience interaction happening on there. And the tool's very, very similar to Facebook Live's experience as well. So whatever they built for Facebook Live, they then built the same thing for Instagram Live as well. Now, if you're a retailer, you're selling stuff, physical stuff, you can also tag products into Instagram Live. You can with Facebook Live as well. You can tag your products so that people can tap on them, and that connects with your commerce manager on Facebook, and which then connects with your online store. So as you're doing that, you're doing, say, for instance, there's the woman on the screen right now from the iconic London is showing how to use mascara to get a better eye look. Then she would say this mascara is also available at here. Just tap the tag, sorry, the word I was looking for, and it'll go through to be able to purchase through the commerce manager in Facebook and Instagram, which then connects through to your Shopify or your WooCommerce, or whatever kind of e-commerce platform you're then dealing with. After that, then we start to get into some of the logistical things, the things that make everything better. Now, I'm in a room here which has tons of light from one direction. So over here, where the light's coming in through this glorious blue sky, clear day with not even any smoke in the air, it's absolutely gorgeous for once. It's a dry season day in the top end that doesn't have bushfire smoke. It's beautiful. So it gives me lots of light, but there's not quite as much light coming over from this side where my lounge room and my kitchen are. I could turn on some more lights and make it a bit more even. But what I've decided to do instead is have a ring light, and this ring light sits right in front of me. So you're going to notice if you see the little picture of me, I'm going to turn off the ring light, and it darkens my image quite significantly. It's not as sharp, it's not as bright. I turn it on, and then my face is a lot more visible. That's all the ring lights are about. You've got to be kind of careful with them too when you're using them with glasses, because I look up here and you can start to see the ring light reflecting in there. I'll just unshare my screen. I'll show you exactly what I mean. So there we go. You can see the ring light starting up here in my glasses. So if you've got glasses, so if I'm looking straight at my camera, which is below the level of my ring light, then you're not seeing that reflection. But I'm very, very bright and very, very sharp, and the image is very, very sharp. And I've got other reasons for that apart from just the ring light. I've actually maximized the use of my camera as well. But if I then again turn off that light, so it's just not as sharp, and my skin tone's not as dynamic, it's more gray, but I turn it on. There you go. And much more even skin tone. These little things may not seem that important to most people. They may seem a little bit vain, or they may seem a little bit silly. The reality is, though, that these things actually really do matter to people who are watching. Someone's much more compelling if you can see them and you can see their facial expressions and the way they communicate. Someone's much more compelling to watch when you can see them like that, even if it's just this tiny little box that's at the top of your screen, while the presentation is over on the left of Zoom, and it's mostly, you know, you're seeing the PowerPoint presentation. So ring lights make a difference. I've got a couple of them. I've got a little portable one that I take with me that clips onto the top of my mobile phone to light up my face when I've got a mobile, if I'm doing something live at the time when I'm on the road. I've also got this particular ring light that I'm showing the picture of right here, is available from Kmart for $35, and it actually has a telescopic thing. It sets it up to be, you know, a good 1.5 meter to 2 meters tall, where you can actually be standing up with this full-size ring light right in front of you, so that your face is fully illuminated as you're talking to someone standing up. So all your gestures are covered. Your skin tone looks a lot more even. The more light that's on there, sure, it will show up more, it might show up more blemishes, but you can control the kind of light that's going on. I can control going through white light, which is the light that's on now, so it's a bit more harsh, a lot more white light, and then I can go to what is then a more yellow light, which is much more in tune with the sunlight that's happening outside, rather than just a pure white fluorescent white light. So they're very good. They're adjustable in terms of their height, adjustable in terms of the bit in the center allows you to clip your mobile phone in there. And these things are not expensive. You can get desktop ones for as little as $15. I've got this one, which, you know, fits in. I've even got a travel version of it. I went and bought a travel version of it, which packs away the ring light into this little pouch. And then the telescopic air is like this. That goes in my luggage and goes with me, particularly when I'm spending a week with my family and I'm in their spare room. The lighting's really terrible there. So that allows me to have much better lighting, so that I can become more interactive to the people I'm doing one-to-ones with, but also more compelling when I'm something like a video like this one. So ring lights are not expensive at all. You can get them so cheap. Don't be buying $150 ring lights. The Kmart $35 one will do. Another thing is getting a better webcam. Do not skimp on your webcam, and don't rely on the webcam that comes with your computer. If you're using your computer, webcams on laptop computers are terrible. The photo of this one here is the Logitech C922, which is the one I'm actually using right now. Now I'm going to swap you very, very quickly between my webcam that's on my computer and the webcam that I'm using for the Logitech one. So I'll just quickly unshare my screen and show you the very big difference that happens. So I'm on my screen over here. So if I'm looking over here, don't worry about it too much. So this is a very sharp picture, right? It comes across a lot more sharp through, you know, lower internet connections, because it's a full 1080p high definition camera. But if I then go over to my other video, my other camera, which is the one that's built into my laptop computer. Let's do that one. So look at that. Nowhere near the resolution, a lot fuzzier, a lot darker as well. It's not taking in as much light. And this is because the Logitech camera is probably, you know, this long. So it's got a much longer barrel. It's got a lot longer point that the light can go in. It can take a lot more light in. Whereas the little thing on the top of my screen is wafer thin. It can't take in that much light. So webcams on laptop computers are not that great. So this particular one, I think, costs about $150 at JB Hi-Fi. I needed this a better camera because the laptop one just wasn't doing what I wanted to do. I was to swap those around in Zoom straight away. And then we're back to the much higher definition, much better webcam. So I can move that across now. So it's right back into the center again. And we can continue our webinar. Reshare my screen. So about $150 for that one. You don't have to spend that much. You can get them for as little as $50 online of different quality ones. I just use Logitech because, well, let's face it, this is my living. This is what I do all the time. So I want to have the best possible tools to do that with, which then brings us to another very, very important tool when it comes to webinars and live streaming, and that's your microphone. So a better microphone is going to do so much better. Now, there's a microphone that's built into the Logitech camera, and I can actually swap around and use different microphones that I've got set up in here. So if I use the microphone on the stream webcam, so I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, you can hear that now. That's the set quality of sound that's coming through my webcam. It's probably a little bit louder, but it's not quite as nicely handled. It's not going to be quite as nice coming through. If I then go through the laptop microphone, so I'll change it over, say the laptop microphone, it's louder, but it's very hollow and very echoey, right? You can hear that I'm actually in a very echoey room, tiled, glass, blank walls all around the place. There's not enough to protect that. But if I then go back to my my good microphone, so I'll change that over. It's not as loud, but it's far more rich and clear. Yeah, right. So you notice it's a very big difference when you go from microphone to microphone. I've got several microphones. One of the ones I use when I go on the road is this little guy, my Rode NT USB. It cost me about 150 bucks again. It's a great little travel microphone because I do a lot of voiceovers as well for radio and television. So I need to be able to take a good microphone with me, and that allows me to do it. Just make sure I go into a very sound protected room. And I'm staying at my parents' place in the Gold Coast, for instance, when I visit them. I do it in the bedroom because you've got a lot of things that absorb noise in there. So it makes it a lot easier to be able to do a really good presentation. But the one I'm using right now is the Shure one, which is the center one you can see on screen right now. That particular microphone is about 420 bucks. It's a very expensive microphone. I use that simply because podcasts and voiceovers and webinars and live streams are my living. So for me, it's just a tool of the trade. It's like buying a laptop computer. I don't scrimp and save on my laptops. I don't scrimp and save on my cameras or on my microphones because they are what helps me make money. And so I make sure I get the best thing possible. But a really good option for you maybe is the one on the left, which is the Blue Yeti. The Blue Yeti is a very, very good microphone for the price. And you can get those for nearly under $100 these days. And they're a very high quality microphone. They can be used in things like teleconferences. You put them in the center of a table and everyone can be heard because they're multi-directional. That can be really, really good for you to use something which is a lot more, I suppose, price effective, but also is very, very good at picking out voices that aren't so loud. So I'd recommend that you try that as well. The Blue Yeti, it's you can get them for under 100, but they're around about that sort of 120, 130 mark for a really, really good one. There's various kinds. There's another little guy that I don't know where I've got him hidden, but he's a little, like, it looks like a tiny little grenade about this big, and it's called the Samson, and it's a foldable, sit on your desk kind of microphone. If I can find it in my drawer here, I'd love to be able to show it to you because it is, here it is, found it in this little pouch. So this is great for traveling. This is my other travel mic, which I'll do when I've got less luggage than I normally would. I always have to take it out when I go through security at the airports because, like I said, it's shaped like a grenade. So it's going to be a little bit harder to get. So this is it, tiny little thing. I'll turn off my share so you can see it. There we go. So you can see this here, and you fold down the sides and it becomes this little thing. Now, this is good enough for me to do voiceovers for radio and TV. It's good enough, but the problem is if I sat it down on, at a distance from me, that it wasn't very close, it doesn't really pick up a really good, rich voice. I have to bring it right up to beside my mouth to get a really good, rich voice coming out of it. So is it a good one for podcasting? Probably. If it's a good one for live streams, probably not. You need something which you can sort of be, a good 20, 30 centimeters away, and it still sounds rather good. But this one cost me about 70 bucks. So it's not an expensive microphone, but it's a great one for taking around with me if I need to go places where I, for instance, go to remote locations in small planes. You can't take 30 kilos of luggage with you. You can only take up to, I think it's about 15 kilos at tops or something. No, it's not even that. I think it's last time I went to Nhulunbuy, and Tennant Creek, it ended up being that I could only take 7 kilos of luggage. So this little thing, which probably weighs about 250 grams, a lot better to take than this big honking thing, which is going to take nearly a kilo. So it helps you to save definitely on your luggage. And if you're doing a lot of travel, You know what it's like to have to save on that luggage allowance, because next thing you know, you charge $70 for excess luggage and nobody's happy. So we've got our better camera. We've got our better microphone. How about we then get some better systems? And this thing called StreamYard is excellent. StreamYard allows you to not just broadcast to Facebook Live, but you can also simultaneously broadcast to YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, LinkedIn Live if you've got it, got the ability to be able to do that, to Twitter. You can go to as many different locations as you want from this particular service. Now, their base level is free, which means that you can then add your branding colors. You can have a theme of how things like your name appears, or how things like the live bit in the top left-hand corner, which is saying live and how long you've been, how many people are watching, that kind of thing. But then it can also let you integrate screens and slides and things like that. You can share your screen. I really like that you can have comments in there that you can type along the way. You can have backgrounds, you can have overlays, and the overlays are great because they allow you to bring your brand into it as well. What they have called banners, and these banners can be things that allow you to have, not just your logo, but like the lower third that would happen on a news television show. So for instance, if you're unfortunate enough to be watching Sky News Australia, you'll see that they've got big banners across the bottom, usually saying something that's designed to make people scared or get people outraged or whatever they want to put on there. It's some terrible news network. I wish my father would stop watching it, but it's all that sort of stuff you can add in there. You can screen share, you can stop your camera, you can invite people to join you, you can have multiple people on there. In the free version, you have some limits to all that sort of stuff. But in the paid version, which it costs about $25 US per month, you can then add just infinite differences in there. You can design your own banners. You don't have to use the ones that are there. It removes the branding of StreamYard from it. So you don't then have to worry about it showing StreamYard and people knowing that you're using the free version. It's an excellent tool. And when I'm doing much more broad broadcasts, not just things like webinars, which are usually made for a closed group of people like we've got on here, then it's going to be a little bit harder, because this is a great tool for not that kind of thing. It's more so for broadcasts that you're going out to much bigger audiences across multiple different platforms, and you want to have lots of interactive elements like things coming across the bottom of the screen, screen shares, dual screen with you and someone else talking. All those things make StreamYard a really good alternative to just using the platform's stuff itself. Really good system, thoroughly recommend it, and really simple to use. One thing I do use is Crisp. Now, Crisp is something that removes all the background noise. So what you don't realize that's happened in the last hour, these are something that I've got house visitors here at the moment. They were over making breakfast using the kettle, having a little bit of a conversation in the background, and they were worried. They were saying, we won't be able to do anything if you're on your live call, will we? And I said, look, no one's going to hear what you have to say, because I've got software on my computer that stops all that from happening. It allows me to have live meetings on Zoom. Now, Zoom's got some sort of abilities to do this, but honestly, it's not that good. This thing is incredible. It means that I can do a voiceover for radio and television in an echoey, big, cavernous room like this, where there's nothing really to calm down the sound, and it's completely good quality for them to be able to use. In addition, it allows me to have these live webinars in my home office, which is out in the living room. My house guests can be sitting there having a little a quiet conversation, having the kettle going. I've got the loud old air conditioner going, the dishwasher's going at the moment, the washing machine down the other end of the house. I can hear all these things myself. You can't hear them because I've got this Crisp thing that's plugged into my computer that stops me from having all those sounds coming through. So I changed, for instance, to my microphone away from the Crisp microphone and just to the bare microphone. You're going to hear a lot more stuff in the background. It's a little bit louder, but you're going to hear, background noise like, the creaking of my chair, the snapping of my fingers, the air conditioner going in the background, the noise coming from my computer, all coming through that. But the minute that I change over to Crisp again, so now it's going to be a little bit quieter, and there's no background noise whatsoever. A lot more smooth and rich. Teresa's asking if you need something like StreamYard in addition to Facebook live stream. Look, if you want to have things that have like banners coming up at the bottom, and you want to have your logo on the bottom of everything, and you want to be able to have more guests, and you want to be able to go to not just Facebook but to other platforms as well, yes you will, because if you're using just Facebook's live stream, you're only going to Facebook, you're going to nowhere else. StreamYard's power is it goes to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, a lot of different platforms all at the same time. So you're going from one platform out to lots of different platforms. So that's probably the thing it's really, really, really good at. As we come to the end, we've got number 9, which is Zoom. Zoom is a surprising platform because it actually allows you to connect your webinars that you're running, or any sort of thing you're doing live. You can live stream through Zoom as well. Anything you want to do through Zoom can then be rebroadcast through Facebook and YouTube. It's got built-in connections that allow you to do this. So when you go now, that the paid version of Zoom will allow you to do this. I don't think you can do this on the free version. If you're paying for a subscription to Zoom like I do, then you've got the ability to go straight from Zoom out to Facebook and YouTube. And if they're your 2 biggest audiences, then that may be all you need. You may not actually need something like StreamYard. You're just doing a regular Zoom call that you're able to do through Zoom itself, and then out to Facebook Live and out to YouTube Live. And I think there's some plugins that allow you to also go to Instagram Live as well. The problem is though, of course, if you're doing this on Zoom, you're doing it on a horizontal screen, and Instagram is almost 100% a mobile phone vertical screen format. So it might look a little bit silly because it'll be squished down from the full screen to this like tiny little letterbox format. So Zoom itself does so much of this stuff already. You can share your screen and all that will come across in your live videos. The disadvantage of using StreamYard and Zoom is that you cannot sit there and monitor the comments and the questions that people are asking on the platforms like Facebook and YouTube. If people are live there and they're asking questions, you won't see those questions because you're looking at the StreamYard stream. So quite often you might need someone else that's over there. So just bear in mind, if you're going to do something where you're expecting questions to be asked and you're expecting interaction to happen, you might be better off doing it directly in a platform like Facebook Live rather than using Zoom or using StreamYard or a similar service like that. That was number 9, not number 8. What are we doing? No, number 9, we're still number 9. Multiple monitors are going to be your friend when you're doing these kind of things. I've got my slides on my laptop computer right here. So right down in front of me, my laptop computer and my camera are right there. So as I'm reading what's on the screen, I'm also able to look at what I look like in a little screen and what the camera is. So looking straight down the camera is not really much of a difference to me looking down at myself and down at the different things that are on the screen. But then all the chat and the interactive stuff is over on this screen over here on what is my right and your left. So over on that screen, I can see the things that Teresa has asked. I can see the Q&A. I can see the participants dropping in and out during the webinar. And over on the left-hand screen is everything else I've got going on. So I've got email and all that sort of stuff, just in case something urgent comes up. Or I've got, quick references. If I'm asked a question, I can hop on Google and find the answer for someone, or hop on to the help site for a particular product and find the answer for someone. So that is what helps me run a much more efficient webinar, that I've got multiple screens around the place. All my interaction happens here. The typed interaction happens there. My research and my answers for asking questions is over there. So I've always got something that's running on each screen that allows me to do it much more effectively. Now I've also got a dual screen that it's over the other side of the room somewhere, that I take with me on the road. So it's like a screen that plugs into my monitor. That's like a portable screen. It's no bigger than my computer, my laptop, and it sits beside it. So it's an extra screen for that, just so I have that ability to be able to put all the interactive stuff over there and keep my interaction with the camera and with the slides right in front of me. So that way there's no confusion. I stay like really interactive with you as my audience, rather than with my slides, which may be over there. So I'm constantly looking over there at my slides and you're not seeing me looking at you. So it doesn't feel as engaging. These little things really do matter. And finally, I use a bit of software called Flixia. Now, Flixia is an online service which starts at, I think it's $10 US a month, if I'm not wrong. Might be completely wrong on that. I've completely forgot it. because I bought it for a lifetime deal through AppSumo a long time ago. So it's I don't actually pay for it anymore. So Flixia is at the pricing of, see, I'm looking up at my research screen now to find out the answer to that. $10 a month, yeah, for the getting started, the creator stage of that. So $10 US a month is like having Adobe Premiere or a really good video editor. So when I get off this call in about 15 minutes time, when the recording has finished recording and processing, I download that recording, put it in the Flixia, put a little starter screen on it, and then I post it off to YouTube and to Facebook. So that way I've got an edited screen, an edited version of this program that then isn't running stupidly over time or under time, or it's running just to the right kind of dimensions that I need it to run. So they are my top 10 things that you can use for live streaming and for webinars. I'd like to thank you for joining me this afternoon. My name is Dante St James. You can follow me or stalk me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, email me if you would like to ask a question, or book me in for an ASBAS Digital Solutions one-to-one as well. I really hope you learned something in there. Thank you for your feedback and your questions, Therese, and to everyone else who is live on here as well. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification so you get more great content coming along. I'm Dante, and I'll see you in the next one.